back to World Crisis B. Now we want to get a report from Athens. Let's just sum up what we've just gone through. We have this recording of Varoufakis talking with a couple of British hedge fund operators on the 16th of July, published on Monday, the 27th of July, authorized by Varoufakis. This is available, the recording and the text, at the Official Monetary and Financial Institutions Forum. I think the biggest write-up I've seen is in Corriere della Sera of Milan. But yesterday here in Washington, we had the Bernie Sanders-sponsored Stiglitz-Galbraith-Kierkegaard forum with various opinions. And we also had Galbraith on the boom-bust program of RT, tending to underestimate this, but that's perhaps just tactical. So we've also got the fact that although Lagarde had been claiming that she was going to get debt reduction, we're now told that the IMF staff is telling her that she can't take part in any more of these Greek bailout operations. So that would be sort of a bait and switch, a dirty trick, right? You pass the austerity cuts, and then the IMF leaves you to the tender mercy of Schäuble or something like that. So let's go to Athens and hear from Michael Chiotinas. Michael, welcome.
Now, what we need to talk about mainly is this new bailout deal.
Right.
These things are all very interesting, but the heart of the matter is this new bailout. The process of negotiations is on. The deal is not secured yet. This is going to be the third bailout package, so-called bailout. In 5 years. The first one this is the third one. The first one was 2010, the second 2012. Now, what can we expect from this new bailout? There's no way around it. This deal is the worst bailout since the beginning of the crisis in Greece. I cannot even begin to describe how bad it is, how brutal politically, how destructive economically, and ultimately how inhumane the conditionalities for the Greek society. At that point, we should probably acknowledge the fact that this kind of brutality cannot have anything to do with economic issues, right? It cannot be a matter of the lenders' economic interests in an immediate way. In other words, in terms of quote-unquote wanting to get their money back. This is insane. This deal is catastrophic economically for all sides involved. So, what is this? And why is it so brutal? Now, one has to have the presence of mind to not get infuriated by this apparent capitulation by the Greek government. We have to think that this brutality could not be anything but political provocation. In my view, this deal will drive away even the most pro-Euro forces in the Greek society. So we can think of this exercise in political bullying by the German government as an attempt to make the Greek government and the Greek people want to exit the Eurozone. Or, even if they don't, make the Greek economy suffer so badly that at least a Euro exit will come very shortly. You know what I mean? Because, make no mistake, this deal is not only destructive, but most importantly, unworkable. It is designed to fail. Now, the targets can never be reached. They will never be reached, leading to yet another round of crisis and negotiations, etc., etc. So nothing is over. Grexit is still on the table, probably more than ever. So, I'm approaching the point. This is an exercise in political bullying, application of brute force, and ultimately a provocation. The heart of the matter is, as far as the Greek government is concerned, faced with a provocation, what do? What is the appropriate response to something like that? I should say that, yes, a Euro exit, economically speaking, maybe the best option. Schäuble has worked very hard to make it appear as the best option anyway. But there's also a legitimate case to be made for not falling into this potential trap, clearly set by the other side, for not following the narrow economic approach, if I may say. To put it simply, maybe we shouldn't be eager to eat the bait. You see what I'm saying?
But Michael, I think the way it looks right now is the question is now that Tsipras it remains in power, Syriza remains in power, are they in fact preparing a plan B in the increasingly likely case that becomes unavoidable? In other words, I think Schäuble's plan is, I'll push you out of the euro, and then you'll collapse because you won't know what to do. You won't know how to seize, or you won't dare seize the central bank. There'll be countervailing forces from the Greek oligarchy. Maybe you'll have a civil war. I'll occupy you with some kind of a force. I think the big question, we went through in some detail the parallel payment system that Varoufakis says he was setting up. And that's all to the good, all good, that he created a parallel payment system that could have been switched to drachmas, right? But you've got to do more, right? You've got to have the banknotes ready. He says the big bottleneck was to go from 5 people on the team to 1,000, and he couldn't figure out how to do that without having the word leak out, right? But it seems to me the reason to stay in power now, to hold on to power, is to use the levers of power to prepare the return to the drachma. Again, it's going to be forced on you by somebody else, but it's becoming more and more likely. The important thing is to leave the euro, but to do so successfully.
Maybe, but we can say that there are 2 opposing arguments. We should be able to see the virtues of both arguments, both the side that wants to accept the deal and work something out, and the side that wants the government to reject the deal.
But why don't we see those 2 in dialectical unity? In other words, right now you got no choice but to accept whatever it is, right? Within, your limits of, fakery or whatever you can do, right? In other words, take evasive action.
Yes.
But very soon that's going to turn into, you're going to, the European Central Bank is going to cut off money, and then what do? You must be ready, right? One of the hedge fund guys in this tape says to Varoufakis, "You really didn't have a plan B, did you?" And he said, "Well, we did." Unfortunately, what he talks about is not yet a plan B, although it's an important part of it, right? This whole question of payment systems, SWIFT or whatever it is, that would come into play, to be sure. It seems to me the big question is, are they using the time now to get ready for what looks increasingly likely, which is the grim exit, the Grexit scenario?